I grew up in a quaint town where the value of hard work was prized above all else. As the quintessential girl next door named Angela, my family wasn't wealthy, but we shared plenty of joy, and they ingrained in me the importance of diligence from an early age. After college, craving a bit of independence, I relocated to a bustling city, which felt like stepping into an entirely different universe. In this new setting, I embarked on a career as a sales manager at a prominent company, a significant achievement for someone from a small town. The job was challenging, but I relished the opportunity to prove myself. While my colleagues often spent their evenings at clubs, you'd typically find me either engrossed in a book or logging extra hours at work. However, everything changed when I met Bobby. He was the epitome of charm, his smile brightening even the gloomiest days, and his humor was infectious. We started as work acquaintances, sharing casual coffee breaks that gradually turned into extended dinner dates. Before long, I was deeply in love. "I can't believe my luck," I once shared with him during a romantic walk by the river, the city lights shimmering on the water like scattered stars. "Believe it, Angela, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me," he replied, squeezing my hand reassuringly. Not long after, we married in a simple, intimate ceremony that reflected our unpretentious tastes. Soon, our daughter Judy was born, and our small family felt wonderfully complete. Bobby and I reveled in the simple pleasures of life, like weekend outings in our mobile home to explore the countryside or leisurely walks in the park, watching Judy chase pigeons. Juggling work and family life became more challenging after Judy's arrival. I shifted to part-time work to be more present for her, supported wholeheartedly by Bobby, who always encouraged me, "Do what you need to, babe, we'll make it work." And indeed, we did. We were a perfect team, sharing household responsibilities and parenting duties with considerable help from Bobby's parents who adored their granddaughter. "You two are doing great," Bobby's mom often remarked. "It's not easy, but you make it look like it is." Life seemed nearly perfect, but as it often does, life threw us a curveball. One evening, while cleaning up after dinner, Bobby mentioned needing to work late more frequently due to a demanding project. I nodded, trying to hide my concern. "Just don't overdo it," I cautioned with a worried smile. However, Bobby's late nights became the norm, cooling the warmth that once filled our home. I tried to dismiss my concerns, attributing the change to job stress, but a nagging feeling told me something was amiss. Judy, too, felt the difference, her innocent queries about her father's absence tugging at my heartstrings. "Why isn't Daddy home for dinner?" she would ask, each question a small jab to my soul. I did my best to reassure her. "Daddy has to work, sweetie. He'll be home soon," I'd say, hoping my voice didn't betray my growing unease as I faced the slow-building storm that was our changing life. As the days passed, the time Bobby promised to come home soon stretched out longer and longer. One hectic afternoon at work, I found myself unable to leave on time. I urgently needed someone to pick up our daughter Judy from school. With no other option, I called Bobby, my voice tense with stress, hoping he could step in. His reaction was jarring, a verbal slap that left me stunned. "What do you mean you're stuck? Can't you see I'm swamped? Handle your mess," he snapped before abruptly ending the call. Tears welled up in my eyes, not just from his harsh words, but from the shock of this new, cold side of him I had never encountered before. Panicking, I dialed his mother. "Hey, it's me. I'm in a bind. Can you grab Judy from school?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course, dear. Is everything all right with Bobby?" she replied, her voice laden with worry. "Yeah, just work stuff." "Thanks. I owe you one," I managed, a mix of relief and embarrassment washing over me. As days turned into weeks, Bobby's detachment deepened. He wasn't just absent physically, but emotionally as well. Our home, once filled with life, now felt empty, like a shell void of the warmth we once shared. I tried to bridge the growing gap between us. One evening, I mustered all my courage and approached him. "Bobby, we need to talk. Whatever this is, it's not working. Judy misses you. I miss you," I said, hoping to reach him. He barely glanced up from his phone. "What do you want from me, Angela? I'm here, aren't I?" "Just tired, that's all," he muttered dismissively, but his words felt hollow. "But you're not here. You don't talk to us, to me. What's going on?" I pressed, desperate for any sign of the man I once knew. "Nothing's going on. Drop it," he snapped, his indifference cutting deeper as he stood to leave the room. That night, I lay awake, the silence of our home echoing around me, a stark contrast to the laughter and love that once filled it. This change in Bobby wasn't just hurting me, it was affecting Judy too. She became quieter, her vibrant spirit dimming. The emotional distance was matched by a physical one as Bobby stopped contributing to household tasks, leaving me to shoulder everything alone. It felt like I was becoming a single parent. "Why doesn't Daddy play with me anymore?" Judy's voice pierced through my thoughts one evening while I washed dishes. I turned to her, forcing a smile. "Daddy's just busy, honey, but we can play. What do you say? Your choice of game?" I offered, trying to mask the ache in my heart. She nodded, a small smile on her lips, but her eyes were searching, longing for the father she adored and missed. Feeling increasingly isolated, I sought support from Bobby's parents, spending more time at their home just to feel a connection to the man I married. They too noticed the change and shared my concern but felt helpless. "It's just a rough patch, dear. Every marriage has them," Bobby's mom tried to reassure me, but her eyes betrayed her worry. In a desperate attempt to rekindle the spark between us, I planned a surprise. I bought tickets to a local music show, thinking it might remind us of the better times. When I excitedly told Bobby about the tickets, hoping to see a glimmer of the old him, his response was disheartening. "A music show? Seriously, Angela? You know I'm swamped with work. I don't have time for this," he said, barely looking up from his laptop. The dismissal was crushing, but it solidified the realization that the distance between us was growing too vast to bridge with a simple evening out. It had been such a long time since we'd done anything as a family, and I knew Judy would cherish it. "It could be a nice break for us," I said to Bobby, trying to maintain composure despite the sting of his earlier dismissal. "Great, another thing to add to my never-ending to-do list. Thanks, but I'll pass. You two go and have fun," he replied, his attention already snapping back to his laptop. I stood there feeling foolish, the rejection deeper because it seemed he didn't want to spend time with us at all. Judy, sensing the tension, came over and tugged at my hand. "Is Daddy not coming with us, Mommy?" she asked, her big eyes clouded with confusion. I forced a smile and bent down to her level. "It's just going to be a girls' night out. We'll have lots of fun, just you and me," I told her, trying to inject excitement into my voice. Judy nodded, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes. It broke my heart to see her having to adjust to this new version of her father. As Bobby's absences grew longer and more frequent, claiming work demanded his entire weekends, I found myself in a lonely battle to keep our family intact. "Another weekend, Bobby? This is getting ridiculous. You're never home anymore. Judy keeps asking about you," I confronted him one evening. "Look, I don't need this right now, Angela. Work is crazy, and I'm doing the best I can. Maybe if you were a little more understanding instead of constantly nagging, things would be better," he retorted, his tone dripping with annoyance. "Nagging? I'm trying to have a conversation about our family, about us. You're hardly here, and when you are, you're like a ghost. How is that fair to Judy or me?" I shot back, my frustration boiling over. "Just leave it, Angela. You wouldn't understand," he said before walking out, leaving me fuming and feeling more isolated than ever. The evenings he claimed to spend with colleagues stretched later and later, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more he wasn't telling me. The loneliness was suffocating, and I found solace only in the company of Judy and Bobby's parents. During one of our dinners at their house, Bobby's mother noticed my subdued mood. "Angela, dear, you barely touched your food. Is everything all right?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. I hesitated, not wanting to burden her, but eventually the words spilled out. I feel like I'm losing him, and I don't know what to do. He's always working or out, and when he's home, it's like he's not here. Judy misses him, and I miss my husband, I admitted. Bobby's father, who had been quietly listening, chimed in. Have you tried talking to him, sitting him down and telling him how you feel? I let out a humorless laugh. Talking to Bobby? It's like talking to a wall these days. He doesn't listen, or worse, he gets angry. I'm at my wit's end here. Bobby's habit of returning home late and his evasive excuses finally drove me to a decision I had never imagined I would consider. I hired a private investigator. It felt as though I was stepping over a boundary I hadn't even seen before, but my desperation to understand what was happening with him outweighed my doubts. As the weeks passed, I was caught between hope and anxiety, not knowing what to expect. Then, something completely unexpected occurred. With our anniversary just around the corner, Bobby unexpectedly asked me out to a fancy dinner at a high-end restaurant, promising that we would spend the entire weekend together, just like we used to in the days when our love was new and vibrant. This sudden gesture was surprising, stirring a mix of emotions as I wondered about the timing and his sudden shift in behavior. I couldn't contain my excitement when Bobby suggested an evening out, just the two of us, reminiscent of earlier, happier times. Really, Bobby? Just us like before? I asked, barely able to believe the change in his demeanor. Yeah, thought it'd be nice, a break from all the craziness, he replied, his voice casual, almost indifferent. Clinging to this newfound hope, I quickly arranged for Bobby's parents to care for Judy, excitedly sharing the news with them. The day arrived, laden with a cocktail of nerves and anticipation. The restaurant was every bit as enchanting as promised, a nostalgic echo of our past happier days. Bobby was there already, waiting. His offer of a glass of wine was unexpected. Come on, let's celebrate just this once, he urged, seeing my hesitation. I chuckled, feeling a bit out of my element. You know I'm not much for drinking, but okay, just this once, I agreed, eager to savor this rare moment of connection. The evening unfurled with a series of toasts and refilled glasses as if Bobby was trying to drown our problems in wine. For a while it felt like a dream, our troubles momentarily erased by the elegant setting and the alcohol. However, as the night progressed, I began to feel increasingly unwell, a heavy drowsiness pulling me under. Bobby, I don't feel so good. I think I need to lie down, I mumbled, my eyes struggling to stay open. Don't worry, I got you. Let's get you home, he said, his voice sounding distant as he assisted me to the car. The world outside blurred into darkness as I succumbed to a troubled sleep, only to be abruptly awakened by the car stopping. The air was chilly and I was barely conscious when Bobby half dragged me out of the car and onto a bench. Through the haze clouding my mind, his words pierced sharply. You're just so tiring, Angela. Always there, always expecting so much. I can't do this anymore. His voice was a harsh whisper in the darkness, chilling me as I tried to make sense of his words, but my body wouldn't cooperate. The world spun and darkness claimed me completely. Waking up in a clinic was disorienting, like trying to assemble a puzzle with half the pieces missing. My head throbbed painfully, echoing the confusion that swirled through my mind. My mother-in-law stood beside me, her face creased with worry. You're awake, thank God, she sighed, her hand clutching her heart. We found you in a bad part of town. No bag, no ID, nothing. What on earth happened? I tried to sit up, the effort sending waves of nausea through me. I was with Bobby. We had dinner for our anniversary. He said he'd take me home, I managed, the words sounding hollow even to myself. Her brows furrowed in confusion. But that can't be. Bobby's been out of town. He called yesterday to check on Judy and said he was sorry he couldn't be here. The room seemed to spin, not just from the pain, but from the stark disbelief. But he was there. We had dinner. I trailed off, the reality sinking in. My husband's actions were a mystery, his alibi a lie. The worry in her eyes deepened. Let's get you home. We can sort this out later. How's Judy? That was the first coherent thought I had. My daughter, my little girl. Was she okay? She's fine, dear. Been asking for you. Let's get you better so you can see her, she reassured me, helping me to my feet. The days that followed were a blur of rest and whispered conversations, the atmosphere charged with questions no one dared to ask. Once I felt stronger, I knew what I had to do. I called the detective I had hired weeks ago, the one I hoped would shed light on Bobby's mysterious behavior. "Angela, I have the report," he began. The detective's voice was serious on the phone, hinting at revelations I wasn't sure I could handle. We agreed to meet at a secluded cafe where he handed me an envelope that seemed to weigh down my very soul. "What's in here?" I whispered, my voice tinged with both fear and anticipation. "Take your time with it. It's a lot to process," he advised, his concerned gaze meeting mine. Back at my mother-in-law's, I steeled myself for what might be inside. The envelope contained photographs, receipts, and a detailed account of Bobby's activities, proof of a life and a betrayal I had not been privy to. My hand trembled as I took in every word and every image. This was the undeniable evidence that the marriage and life I thought we had built together were nothing more than a facade, driven by a mix of anger, betrayal, and a fierce determination to face the truth. I drove to the address the detective had provided. The evening air felt oppressively heavy as I parked outside a nondescript apartment building. With each step toward the door, my resolve hardened. The door was ajar, an ominous invitation to what lay inside. I found them there, Bobby and his brightly-haired mistress lounging casually as if they hadn't a care in the world. Bobby's shock at seeing me was almost satisfying, nearly enough to soften the sharp sting of betrayal. "So, this is the hard work that's been keeping you busy every night, huh?" My voice was laced with bitterness. I didn't bother to hide it. The woman, with her pink hair and garish suit, just smirked arrogantly. "You shouldn't have come here. It would have been easier for you to just disappear," she sneered, igniting my fury further. I turned to Bobby, my heart aching with betrayal. "How could you do this to us?" I demanded, though I knew no answer could alleviate the pain. She laughed coldly, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Because you've been in the way of our happiness. We've wanted you gone for a long time," she confessed, her words slicing deeply. But I wasn't there to crumble. I stood firm, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I know all about your plans. I'm not here to beg or cry. I've seen the evidence. I know about the poison, and the police do too," I revealed. The evidence I had gathered was damning. The blood test showing traces of psychotropic substances, the detailed report from the detective outlining Bobby's betrayals, and video evidence collected by the police that incontrovertibly showed Bobby's attempts to harm me. Their faces fell, but the mistress was quick to recover. "You can't prove a thing, you're out of your depth," she hissed, her bravado failing to mask the fear in her eyes. I pulled out my phone, showing them the recordings of their plotting. "It's all here. The police have everything they need, and there's more. Much more," I said firmly. Bobby tried to speak, but the woman cut him off, still playing the queen of denial. "You think this is over? You think you've won?" She spat, her words desperate, the threat empty. I faced them both, my heart heavy but my conscience clear. This was never about winning or losing. It's about justice, for me and for anyone else you might have tried to hurt. "You won't get away with it," I declared. As I left, their stunned silence was a cold comfort. The night air felt sharper somehow as I stepped outside, the weight of the evening settling around me like a cloak. I walked away with my head held high. I had faced the darkest chapter of my life not with violence or rage, but armed with the truth. The courtroom was electric with tension, every gaze fixed on the unfolding drama. It was the day of reckoning for Bobby and his mistress, a day when their fates would be sealed by their deceit. Despite their defiant denials, the evidence overshadowed their lies. As the prosecutor presented the case, it felt like reliving a nightmare. First, there was the restaurant security footage, a silent witness to Bobby secretly drugging my drink, a betrayal captured in disturbing clarity. Then, city surveillance videos traced a damning path showing Bobby abandoning me in a deserted area late at night. The final, undeniable evidence came from the medical reports that confirmed the presence of toxins in my system, a sinister plot against my life. Bobby and his mistress sat together, united in guilt yet pathetic in their defense, their lies disintegrating under the weight of the truth. "It's all a misunderstanding," Bobby weakly attempted to argue, his voice devoid of conviction. The mistress, her arrogance still blazing, chimed in. "That evidence could have been doctored. You have no proof it was us," she sneered, trying to appear confident. But the evidence was irrefutable. The video footage, the medical tests, and the detective's thorough investigation all led to an undeniable conclusion. They were guilty. Justice was poised to be served. The judge's gavel struck with a sound of finality. "Based on the overwhelming evidence presented, this court finds the defendants guilty as charged," the judge declared, his voice resonating through the silent courtroom. The sentence wasn't just about the punishment, it included financial compensation. It wasn't about the money for me, it was about accountability, about making them pay in some small way for the havoc they wreaked on my life and my daughter's life. Now, life is a stark contrast to those shadowy days. My daughter and I have found peace, a new beginning forged from the ashes of our past. Our home is once again a haven of laughter and love, a sanctuary we once feared lost. "We did it, Mommy." My daughter's words soothe my soul, her smile the brightest light in my life. "Yes, we did, sweetheart. We're going to be just fine," I assure her, feeling the truth of my words in my heart. The journey was long and fraught with pain, but standing here now, with my daughter by my side, I am reminded of the immense strength and resilience within us. We've weathered the storm and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the future with hope and courage. Bobby's parents, once figures I respected and admired, were devastated by their son's actions, heartbroken by the betrayal and harm he caused. The day they decided to cut ties with him and rewrite their will to leave everything to Judy, my daughter, was unforgettable. I remember sitting with them, the room heavy with a mix of sorrow and resolve. "We can't undo what Bobby did, but we want to make sure Judy is taken care of," they said, their gaze steady but filled with underlying pain. I was overwhelmed not just by their generosity but by their resolve. "I don't know what to say, Judy. She'll have a future now thanks to you," I managed, my voice choked with emotion. "It's what's right. She's our granddaughter," they replied, affirming their decision with heartfelt sincerity. Bobby's parents, determined and clear, told me, "We love her and we want to make sure she knows she's not defined by her father's mistakes." Their words were firm, leaving no space for doubt. Since then, life has been a series of adjustments, a process of finding our footing in a new reality. I returned to work full-time, approaching my role with a renewed sense of purpose. Balancing my career and being a single mom to Judy hasn't been easy, but it's been rewarding. Our life is genuinely good. My mother-in-law, bless her soul, has been nothing short of a godsend. She stepped up in ways I never could have anticipated, becoming not just a caregiver for Judy, but a pillar of strength for me as well. Our bond, forged in the fires of family turmoil, has grown unbreakable. "Judy's lucky to have you, and so am I told her one evening as we shared a quiet cup of tea after putting Judy to bed. She waved off the compliment with her usual modesty. "Nonsense. I'm just doing what any grandmother would do. Besides, seeing you two happy is all the thanks I need." Our conversations, once overshadowed by the pain and confusion of Bobby's betrayal, now revolve around future plans, Judy's latest achievements, and the simple joys of our day-to-day lives. We laugh more, worry less, and cherish the peace that has settled over our home. Judy, growing each day into a bright and curious young girl, truly is the light of our lives. She knows she is loved, cherished, and supported not just by me, but by the extended family that has rallied around her. "Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be strong like you," Judy said to me one night, her words warming my heart. "You already are, my love. You're the strongest person I know," I replied, tucking her in with a sense of contentment washing over me. Our lives, reshaped by trials, are now filled with new strengths and deeper connections.